Okay, so the Gwinnett, like Brianna mentioned in my introduction, I'm one of the co-founders of the Gwinnett Interfaith Alliance, and we've got Gwinnett County is in Metro Atlanta, just to give you a little bit of orientation there. And we got started actually in the fall of 2018. We kind of took to heart. If God gives you or if you're provided with a tragedy, try to make a constructive purpose out of it. And myself, and after talking to a couple other people, we had a Tree of Life memorial, which was really fantastic. We had the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh was a sign of a very horrendous tragedy and shooting in cold blood of people there, doing nothing other than to participate in their Sabbath worship. But when we had a memorial at our synagogue, the response was really very heartening. We had people from many different faiths and many in the community came and joined us together. And I suggested to the leader of the congregation that after this, that I'd like to try to get an interfaith group started, and lo and behold, the response was really there. We had a lot of energy initially, and we got started, and it's been almost 2 years now. But we have members from, I would say, 12 different faiths, probably 16 different religious, and we also the county actually comes to some of our events as well. Our mission really, we're dedicated to promoting respect and inclusion among many diverse faiths. I put the contact information if you want to know more. You can send a mail to Gwinnett Interfaith Alliance at gmail.com or visit our website at GwinnettInterfaithAlliance.org. Okay, so what do we do? Well, for one thing, we do support each other in times of need. After acts of hate, the Tree of Life, as already mentioned, the shooting in New Zealand. We visited we each visited took turns visiting some of the mosques in the area to provide comfort and let them know that they are not alone. After the El Paso shooting in the Walmart, we visited some of the Latino community organizations. We also had representatives at a memorial for a Sikh police officer. This officer was actually shot on duty in Houston at a traffic. He just stopped somebody, and but he was unique in that he was not only Sikh, but he was open about his faith. We learned from each other. We've had some very successful interfaith discussion events. We explore common values. We're scheduling a series of conversations where we can draw unity and strength from our diversity and sift through the different theologies and rituals. But what are our common values? What do we have in common? Community engagement. We help each other with zoning issues. As you may already know, one of the ways minority religions are harassed is by denying them zoning, coming up with zoning issues when they try to establish a building. We're also very supportive of the equal justice initiatives in our community, removal of a Confederate memorial. We're presently have gotten together a public statement to show our support for that. And we also have people working with the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama, on establishing a lynching memorial. They have documented that there's 2 people in our county that were lynched. In fact, ironically, the Confederate memorial that we're trying to get removed is almost on the same grounds as where one of the individuals was lynched. Okay, so I want to drill down a little bit about inclusive public spaces. This has come up quite a bit, and it seems kind of where the boundary is, where some of the other speakers would say we recognize the other. So our county commission has invocations before each of their public meetings, and one of the members of our synagogue actually looked at all the recordings and found, like, I don't know, something like 70% of them were Christian oriented and not in any way provide, aware that there may be other faith groups in the meeting, attending the meetings. So we developed some guidelines of an inclusive invocation. Our rabbi at Temple Beth David actually used these guidelines when he had the opportunity to give the invocation before the Gwinnett, the Georgia State Legislature. We're also petitioning the Board of Commissioners to try to get them to adopt our guidelines. We also engage with schools to promote respect for a culture of diverse religions. We have been successful in engaging with several guidance counselors, and they're very enthusiastic about. We made the offer to go before actually engage directly with the students and prevent a script of why people wear certain. Some of their fellow students may be observing different holidays or wearing different clothing or have different coverings on their body. But when it goes up the bureaucratic chain, so far we have not been successful. One group that we've come across in our travels is something, it's called the Good News Club. I'd like to go to the next slide at this point, and I'm going to drill down a little bit because I think this is an issue that I didn't know about, and many of the people in our group didn't know about. I think it really needs some light shined upon it. It is a parent organization that sponsors the Good News Clubs. It is the Children Evangelism Fellowship, and this is a national organization dedicated to spreading their faith to children. And they purposely target ages 4 to 14. They call that their sweet spot. Just like a batter would say there's an expression in baseball, when you hit a ball in the sweet spot. But so they're going after what they consider their sweet spot. And they actually gained the legal right to do this on public schools right after school hours. And their programming is focused on spreading the faith to children via games. But they have been criticized even by fellow Christians and evangelists for very starkly warning children about being damned to an eternal hell, I should say, eternal damnation if they don't free themselves from sin and accept Jesus as their salvation. And they encourage them to spread the word to other children in the school. And like I said, it's not supported by many Christian leaders, including Baptist ministers that criticize this group. Okay, so the legal foundation is based on a Supreme Court ruling. The court held in 2001 on free speech grounds that a school cannot exclude them as an after-school activity. So they said the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution was not in play, really. It was not violated because what these clubs are doing is they're not practicing religion, but they're exercising their free speech rights. So I asked the question, as many others have asked, where does this logic lead? I mean, do other groups with somewhat fringe on the fringe with their viewpoints, not necessarily with values compatible with school children or at a specific school? Do they have a right? Can the Democrats, can the Republicans lure kids in with sweet treats and get them to tell their parents or their other children in the school, you should be part of this political party? I mean, it could even be the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi Party. I mean, where does this free speech right? Does not the content or the actual substance of what they're doing in these clubs come into play? So the school district and the school districts really are don't have much to say about it. If a club if a church wants to sponsor a club at a local school, they can't prevent it really. The parent or branch organization, the CEF, has a large legal team that will dispute any denials. In fact, they even brag about it. One of the, Catherine Stewart has wrote a very good book about this group. And she went to some of their national meetings, for adults, obviously. And they were bragging about the fact of the legal muscle is such they can intimidate people into getting a club wherever they want. And the ironic part, or really the sad or unfortunate part, is that these clubs have more rights than band or athletic activities. A school can actually decide not to have a band or not to have a certain sport. Maybe they don't want to have the insurance liability, they don't have the funds, or they don't think the interest is there or had the experience. But a good news club, you're going to be threatened with a lawsuit if you try to block it. So I'll say, so one of the bad effects of this, it leads to a lot of confusion among the children in the school. Young children do not make distinctions for after-school clubs. In their minds, the viewpoints of these clubs is sanctioned by the school. The parents' permission is required, but often they're not fully informed, and there's peer pressure, and there's enticements such as treats and t-shirts, posters, colorful posters. And this is interesting. A schoolyard incident that Catherine Stewart talks about is a child on school ground was trying to tell her youngster that if they're going to go to hell if they don't believe as they believe. The teacher intervened and said, well, there's different views on this. And actually, the Catherine Stewart's child was okay with it, but the member child that was trying to do the evangelizing became very confused. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a widespread phenomenon. Many elementary schools in Gwinnett have these clubs. There's over 4,000 nationwide, but don't be too complacent. It's not about Bible Belt phenomena. There's problems documented on the West Coast in New York City. And please go to my last slide. One more slide, should be there. I can read it. Okay, so what can be done? Provide clubs of alternate programming. That's the approach we took. There's also another organization called newsclub.info, goodnewsclub.info, which has a lot of information. And they suggest that actually you can go to your school district and talk to the board and ask them to adopt some child protection provisions to their guidelines. And the big thing I would like to see come out of this meeting is that there's more media attention paid to it, really shining the light on that. And the people, the frustrating thing is when you engage directly with the people, they are very pleasant and good-natured, and you have a congenial conversation, but you don't really get too far. But you can try, although other people are trying to not be successful dialoguing with the sponsors, the churches that sponsor the local club. So on that note, I'm really am enjoying this this webinar. I was about to say seminar, but webinar, and thank you again for this opportunity to speak on these issues.